Hey guys, it's Martyn Sibley here for the latest episode of the Iansyst podcast. Really excited today to be joined by an expert in the inclusion field and also a very lifelong good friend of mine, Toby Mildon. So thank you for joining us today, Toby.
That's all right. Hey, Martyn. Hi.
So obviously, we've caught up on a couple of social occasions, being good friends, but the last time we caught up professionally was at the Workplace Inclusion Conference at the Muller Centre in Cambridge that was run by Iansyst, and we were both speakers on that day. It'd be great for those watching and listening to have a chance, first of all, to hear a bit more about you and what you get up to in the inclusion space, if that's all right.
Yeah, sure. For a number of years, I've been working as a diversity and inclusion manager for big organisations, including the BBC and Deloitte. And as of next year, I will be setting up my own disability and inclusion consultancy, working with my own clients and doing my own inclusion projects.
Exciting.
Yeah, it's really exciting.
Cool. Well, obviously, best of luck with the new venture. I'm sure you've got lots of interested parties already queuing up for your expert advice. And that was really why we wanted to get you on the podcast. Your talk went down really well. It was one of the highest voted talks at the conference. And there was particularly one slide, which I think it was almost its simplicity, yet it's great information and advice that it gave that really stuck with people. So if it's cool, we'll go through that slide, and we'll obviously flash the slide up on occasions as well for the people watching on the YouTube version. So if we start off really looking at the challenges, obviously looking at inclusion being sort of hardwired into the full policy rather than just for disabled people, what would you say the challenges are for businesses that are trying to do that at the moment?
Well, firstly, you're right. It's about hardwiring workplace adjustments into your business, not to have it as a separate standalone process that your occupational health department's responsible for, or in fact something that's only available to disabled employees. Mm-hmm. It's about making workplace adjustments available to everybody in your business so that they are as productive as they can be. Mm-hmm. So the three key challenges that I see time and time again in business, one is around just lack of information and signposting. So not making information available to employees about what workplace adjustments are available to them, should they want them. Also, lack of information for line managers, which prevents them from supporting anybody on their team who has a disability or health condition. The second challenge is down to kind of poor budgeting and procurement and decision-making processes. So what I see very often are kind of pockets of budgets, and then you get into this kind of argy-bargy about who's going to pay for what. And actually, one of the issues is that you run the risk of somebody not getting the workplace adjustment they need because their manager or the budget holder doesn't understand why they need that particular adjustment, or they start to question the expense of that adjustment. And for an organisation that gets into that position, they could end up in hot water where a member of an employee doesn't get the adjustment that they need. Mm-hmm. The third and final area is really that workplace adjustments are seen as like the special thing just for disabled people or people with long-term health conditions because it's something that's included in the Equality Act. But I argue that workplace adjustments should be made available to everybody in an organisation if you want people to be productive. Mm-hmm. So you could be disabled, but you could also be a working parent that needs flexible working hours because you have to drop the kids off to school in the morning.
Perfect. So obviously it's great to see the sort of three different areas of challenges that are being faced. What do you think the value and the opportunity is for businesses if they can overcome those challenges?
Well, the key benefit is productivity. If somebody in the organisation has what they need to do their job, they're going to be productive, and they're going to be really engaged employees because they have the tools to do their job, quite frankly. I mean, on the flip side, I outlined sort of the key 3 challenges or problem areas. The 3 key benefits are kind of the opposite of that, really. So, when people have the information that they need about what workplace adjustments are available to them, then they're empowered to make decisions. They're empowered to request the adjustments that they need. And you're going to have more productive people, and you're going to have managers who are more effective because they're spending less time chasing their tails, tracking down information, or trying to figure out how to provide workplace adjustments for somebody on their team. Also, if you end up having a streamlined way of buying workplace adjustments, or having better decision making, then you're going to have a much more efficient organization in terms of savings, in terms of decision makings, and you will avoid the risk of people having their reasonable adjustments or workplace adjustments rejected because the budget holder doesn't quite understand why it's being requested in the first place. And then my final point about making workplace adjustments available to everybody and not just people with disabilities or long-term health conditions is about making everybody in the organisation effective and efficient in their role.
Perfect. So yeah, as you say, it's that looking down the left side of the diagram on the slide, there's the challenges, and then on the right side, it's the counter opposite, that by overcoming those challenges, that the benefits lead to productivity, efficiency, savings, etc., etc. So then talk us through the middle 3 points, which are, I believe, the steps, is that right, that people can take to get from the left to the right of the slide?
Yeah, so the middle column is like, how do you get, how do you get from the left in terms of the problems of not having workplace adjustments done properly or correctly, to the right, where you realize all of the benefits. The middle is, how do you get there?
Yeah.
And there's lots and lots of things that can be done, and I've just highlighted sort of a few key areas.
Yeah, I'm sure there are other ones as well. Yeah.
There's so many, and the thing is, there's no golden bullet. Every different organisations benefit from different solutions. So an organisation really should sort of look into this and find the solutions that's best for them. Mm-hmm. But some of the key ones that I see time and time again in other organisations is, one, having information readily available to your employees and your managers. Mm-hmm. Most organisations these days have some form of intranet or internal social media platform like Yammer or something like that, or Slack, and an organisation should try and make information readily available through these channels to their employees and managers. The second key area is really getting your purchasing teams on board with streamlining the way of procuring workplace adjustments. Mm-hmm. Some of that is giving guidance to your managers on how, and employees on how they can go and get it themselves. So, for example, somebody who's got dyslexia that may need something like a coloured ruler. Now, you can get something like that on Amazon for like $5. Now, you could just tell people to go and buy that themselves and claim it back as an expense. Or the IT department might be able to bulk buy licenses for common software, like Read and Write Gold or Dragon Naturally Speaking, so that when somebody requests that software, they can just easily grab it off the shelf, metaphorically speaking, and provide it to the employee really quickly. And the organisations that do this really well have a centralised budget for all of their workplace adjustments. What that means is that it just streamlines the procurement process. If you can dip into one pot of money and buy it, you have less approval steps to go through. You have less people, potentially rejecting a purchase, which can land you in a bit of trouble. And I think the final area is creating for your organisation what I call smart working principles. And again, this is about making it available to everybody in your organization. So if you might want to come up with an agile or flexible working policy that you ingrain in the culture of your organization, because quite often policies just sit on an intranet gathering dust. But come up with a set of principles about what it means for your organization to work in a smart and agile and flexible way.
Awesome. So that's really going through those three areas is about information, about procurement, and about having inclusion as a holistic procedure and strategy, not just for disability, and then obviously trying to get people from the left over to the right. It's really, it certainly stuck with me. It's been really helpful prism to look at the world of inclusion. So quick fire final question before we sign off on the episode. What would your sort of advice be to a professional that's watching or listening to this that is really trying to bring this into their business and have more inclusion? What would your parting words be, Toby?
Well, there's a famous line in the disability world, which is nothing about us without us. And I think it's really important for employers to engage with their disabled employees from the outset, to really understand from their employees, who have disabilities and health conditions, about what it's like to work in the organisation, what barriers they come up against day in, day out. And then, some really practical ways of eliminating those barriers. And from a workplace adjustments process, it's about I think it's two questions. One is, what do you need to do your job really effectively and to be able to thrive in your role? And the second question is, well, what can we do to help you, do that? Great.
Really helpful, that, Toby. Thank you for your time today. And I'm sure there will be lots of people getting in touch for further information from Iansyst and yourself.
Yeah, just Google me and drop me a message.
Cool. Take care, buddy.
All right, take care. See you.